Hello everybody and welcome back. My name is Jordan, also known as JMonster. Hope you guys have been enjoying the little resurgence of activity on the channel lately. By the time you see this, there will probably be a siege battle out for you. Or it's a really good field battle, one of those two, depending on in which order I uploaded them. I'm going to have another siege battle coming up for you in very short order. That's going to be a 4 versus 4 reenactment of the first kinslaying in Alqualande, so stay tuned for that. But in the meanwhile, I've got a really fun 2v2 here. I think this is on the Dor Loman map. I can't quite remember. This is one of the kind of classic maps that we've had for quite a while. But this match is very high octane, so I hope you guys are ready for it. In any case, let's take a look at the players on the field of battle today. We have the House of Ulfang being played by Nifredir, the Shadow Hunter. He's going to be bringing some Huntsmen of Lothland. Actually, this whole army is quite interesting. It's very mobility focused, very shock focused. It's the quintessential Ulfang army in a lot of ways. So he's got some Huntsmen of Lothland here. These are going to be harassment javelin cavalry, extremely vulnerable to missile fire, absolutely garbage when it comes to close quarters, but that's the mobility can really help whittle down even much more expensive opponents. Expensive units, I should say. I've also got some Marauders of Himring here. 1, 2, 3. It's looking like 3. As I mentioned in, I believe, the last video, these are no longer locked morale, but they do have all of the fun little flavory snacks and stuff that make them just a tasty treat overall when you're bringing them in an Ulfang army as your main line. They also got a pretty decent shield value for light infantry that they can go up above a little bit, and they've got Falxes in close quarters as well, so they can trade extremely efficiently. And there's going to be some Ulfsarks mixed in there as well. Looking like we've got 2 units of those Berserkers. In behind them, Forgers of Lothland. This is the dismounted harassment javelin counterpart to the Huntsmen. And it's looking like we've got 1, 2, 3 of them on the field today. Sons of Ulfang, because of course, monstrous AP damage and even larger charge values. Completely destructive on the offensive. It'd be fun to see them body some people on the field today. Have some Pillars of Himring, I believe 1, 2 units of. This is a throwing axe cavalry, but they have exceptional charge values as they are a Falx cavalry, whereas the other units, the lighter units, do not have that. So they can hit surprisingly, deceptively even hard off the charge, so something you really want to look out for. But as with most of the Ulfang roster, they're extremely light and very, very easily dispatched if they're put into a tough position. Got some Tribesmen of Lothland here. Low tier unit, mostly relies on numbers in this fodder. Can do relatively well against cavalry, but they are Falx units, so they have brutal charges. So off the charge, this can be an extremely efficient trading unit. So hopefully we'll see a good showing from them on the field. I believe there's a second unit of the Tribesmen hanging out over on the other end. And a little sneaky surprise here, a whole bunch of Despoilers of Dor Caranthir. 1, 2, I believe, units of Despoilers. And then a couple units of Raiders of Dor Caranthir, which are Falx melee cav. We've also got a AP charge, so they're a little bit of a hybrid. They can do a whole bunch of things, but they are unshielded, and even that medium armor is not going to be much defense at all against missile units. So very fragile, very fast, a lot of ambush, a lot of skirmish, and a lot of mobility. So really excited to see them and how they perform today. Moving on over here, we have the Guarded Realm of Doriath being played by Captain Gervais. So we've got a Sword Host of Region. They'll be backed up with a couple units here of Wardens. Sword Hosts do exactly what you would expect them to do. You can take a look at the new models there for the Doriath faction as well. And the Wardens and the Axemen are more of a skirmishing support light infantry unit, though the Wardens, I believe, can upgrade into as high as medium armor, which it appears that they have already done. So nice little hybrid unit here. Doriath is not much of a skirmishing powerhouse, but they do have some nice limited long-range skirmish in the form of the Wardens of the Girdle. They've also got a detachment unit, which I think is maybe somewhere on the battlefield today as well. And then the mid-range, you have a lot of Axemen, which can be very destructive and very disruptive against the right targets. Up front, we have some Shield Bearers of Region, who doubtless have their armor upgrade. Can be very, very tanky. The Doriath Sword and Spear Infantry, really strong kind of roadblocks that can be difficult for people to break down, and that'll allow you to use your more offensive options elsewhere at your discretion. More Wardens of the Girdle in behind, and some more Axemen there. And then, the cream of the crop, we have the Donath and LeBlanc. Two-handed axe bodyguard units. They've also got 2 HP, and that is going to be where his general's hanging out today. You can see Thingol himself on the field. More axemen, more wardens, and again behind a unit of sword host. Rangers of the Girdle here. This is a detachment archer unit, one of the only real dedicated archers that Doriath has available to them. And it's worth noting that all of these archer units, these sort of march wardens, who in the campaign will fight under Beleg, they are all going to have poison arrows, so something to watch out for. Mounts company of Regian heavy cavalry, just a little bit of melee cavalry, kind of a bit like a standard elven melee cavalry, not really anything remarkable about them, but they certainly get the job done. So we've got some warriors of Regian in here as well, two-handed axes, really good off the charge and great at dealing with chaff, mixed in with a couple of spear detachments to ward off any enemy cavalry. And last, but certainly not least, at least for the troops that we can see visible at the moment, we have Tier N Elisa Donan. This is going to be the legendary company. They have armor-piercing axes, and I think they still have armor-piercing in melee after the fact as well, or it might be the reverse. I'd have to look at their data sheet to know for sure. But they're really, really good at dealing with pole arms in particular, as that is something that Doriath doesn't really have a direct answer to. So if you're expecting to fight a lot of pole arms, and indeed they should, given that there is the great wall of BOR right across the field from them, not a bad pick to bring at all. And that's going to do for the blue team. Let's pop on over and see what the red team is bringing to the battle today. Looks like it's going to be the House of BOR, played by Tundra's Fox, and look at this. Look at this mighty wall across the battlefield of golden armored troops. That's going to be a lot for Doriath to try and charge into. They generally want to play pretty aggressively. You're gonna want some controlled aggression here. You don't just want to run headfirst into the brick wall that is the House of BOR in heavy infantry. In any case, I digress. 2 units here at the Salamandrian Guard. Nice little hybrid archer / heavy cavalry unit. They also have armor piercing in close quarters, and they can be particularly strong against monsters, although that bonus will not come into effect on today's battlefield. Wardens of Thargelion, just a little light spear unit, nice little fodder chaff thing. Axemen of Thargelion bringing up the second line, and then we've got the front line here is another unit of Wardens of Thargelion. So out on the flanks here, a nice little mixed force. And then the main line is of course going to be the Clan Guard mixed in with the Halberdiers. This is pretty typical. You're going to see a lot of people do this, especially with the combining of 2 units. They do sort of defend one another, and the Clan Guard, as I mentioned in the last video, are a lot better of a choice to be front and center in your BOR armies. With that high melee defense and the little bit of extra armor and things like that, really good at keeping the Halberdiers alive and allowing them to reap a devastating toll. So it's looking like maybe 1, 2, 3, I'm thinking 4 of each here. 4 halberds, 4 of the Clan Guard are just a giant wall of heavy infantry that's going to be very difficult to hack down. Over here we have the Amberone Honor Guard, and I believe that is the General's Bodyguard as well. Heavy Axemen, a little bit more offensively oriented than a lot of BOR units, which is perfectly fine. They do need a little bit of access to things that can punch up. Heavy infantry, but they are 1 HP, so something to watch out for if there are any Hunter Javelins on the field. They can make easy prey of that unit. Warband of Thargelion here as well, defending the backlines, and then some Salamandrine Dragon Hunters. These are a detachment halberd, but they are a little bit different. They're a little bit better. They do have some morale buffing capabilities, so they're excellent for acting as an anchor for the rest of your army to kind of fight and pivot around. They're going to be in the back defending from any potential sneaky cavalry business. Doriath doesn't have a ton of cavalry, but Ulfang certainly does, so I'm sure they're going to be well appreciated on the field today. I think that's about it for the BOR army. It is enormous, and his teammate today is going to be the hidden city of Gondolin, being played by Alexios, who I think is actually nearly a chance. I think he was like a semi-finalist in one of the recent Reforged tournaments, so he is very good and definitely knows what he's about in Silmarillion as well. Guardsmen of the Harp here, we've talked a little bit about them. Medium Noldor infantry. They're going to be backing up the ever-glorious Phalanx of the King. front and center, we're going to have a whole bunch of Spearmen of the Swallow. Nice little hybrid unit, a little bit limited in their ammunition, but they're really going to have a target-rich environment, certainly, being across the field from Ulfang. Especially with all that cavalry, I think he's going to be glad that he brought them. 2 units here of the Shield Bearers of the Tower, affectionately known as squids for reasons I simply can't comprehend. But yes, 2 squid spearmen. One here, another there, and they're going to be backing up some of the guardsmen of the Harp. And to round things off, a 3rd unit there of the Shield Bearers of the Tower, and some marksmen of the Heavenly Arch. A little bit of controversial pick. Some people swear by this unit. Some people really don't like them. But in this case, I think it's not a bad pick against Ulfang. A unit like this is going to be basically impervious to a lot of things that Ulfang's able to throw them, especially the Horse Archers. So if you want to dominate the ranged play, this is a really good unit to have. They have extra range, extra ammunition, and a little bit of extra damage. All around, they are just an excellent archer, but they are quite expensive. So it's looking like that's all we've got on the field today. I'm not seeing... Oh, we do have some Champions of the Fountain as well. Champions of the Fountain and the Retainers of the King have a really cool armor upgrade as well, but they're going to be lacking that on the field today. Turgon himself is going to be leading his own house. Champions of the Fountain, really good pick against Ulfang. There's a ton of Ulfang chaff, and no one grinds it up better than the Champions of the Fountain. That being said, there are some things they need to worry about, but we'll see what we see. Let's go ahead and get this game started. I think that's going to be everything. No cavalry from the Gondolin player, which I find a little bit interesting. Possibly he didn't really see a big cavalry-heavy and mobility-heavy army coming across the field, which is fair enough. He's brought a lot of tools that Ulfang really does fear, but not much in terms of anti-cavalry. And the Knights of the Golden Flower, they're actually, I believe, a hybrid unit now, so they can mix it up as melee cavalry. Might not be the worst thing to have, but they are very, very expensive, so it's pretty tough when you're playing as Gondolin. You have to choose your units very, very wisely. But who knows? Maybe they're hiding somewhere, although I don't think they can hide. Both armies just staring each other down for the time being. Nifridir the Shadow Hunter flirting a little bit with maybe giving away his position here, moving some units over into the same kind of general area as his hidden contingents. See what he plans to do here. He's got some Huntsmen of Lothland, a lot of Missile Cavalry, and I think he's got some Tribesmen in here as well. A really nice trading unit, as I mentioned earlier. Hopefully, Misclick's don't want to ruin the surprise before it's time. And Doriath just kind of holding steady, staring down the Legion of Doriath here with an almost checkerboard formation, just staring down the Great Wall of BOR, trying to figure out exactly how you're going to address this, because if you just attack them head on, that's going to be a disaster. They will soundly beat you. So maybe needs to be a little bit of artifice here involved in breaking up the shield wall. And I think the best way to do that is probably to clobber their allies. So maybe we'll see both players kind of hard switch onto Alexios, who is in the process of taking a very aggressive posture here against the lightly armored Ulfang contingent. And Nifridir is going to answer in kind. We've got some light cavalry here moving forward. Oh, getting a little bit too close there. Those marksmen of the Heavenly Arch should be able to hit them from here. And indeed they are. Yeah, a few of those light horsemen falling, but there's always more than where that came from. Ulfang, of course, being all about those numbers. Nifridir here can afford to soak up a little bit of extra damage. Shield Bearers of the Tower moving forward, and the Spearmen of the Swallow. This is interesting. He's kind of got Nifridir in a bit of a corner here. He's going to want to break out, I think, in order to use the mobility. Otherwise, he's going to get, kind of pushed back into these hills, and that might not be very much fun. So it looks like he's just going to go for it. Pillagers of Himring being backed up by the Tribesmen of Lothland. Now, the Spearmen, very good. Obviously, they are spear units. They've got the long spear trait. They can turn charge values back, but they're just going to go for it. And I think the charge is real, like the very large charge value is really going to show itself in this little engagement. Shield Bearers of the Tower taking hideous losses, not as bad as you'd think, But Nifty the Shadow Hunter coming in, a little bit of mixed tactics here, crashing into the Shield Bearers of the tower. And this is quickly unraveling. This was the buffer unit kind of meant to give these missile units space to do what they wanted to do. And Nifty the Shadow Hunter just jumped on top of these guys, pounced onto the Squid Spearmen, and I don't think they're very long for this world. Now down to about half strength. I think they're at about 120, so even below half strength. I don't think we're going to see too much more from them here. Now, anytime those cavalry spend, more than a couple seconds in here, these spears are going to skewer them quite nicely. And of course, the Pillagers of Himring have taken a lot of damage in result. The Ulfang units are quite fragile. This is the sort of exchange you can expect to see, but this is overall, I think, less than 1,000 florins. So, absolutely a great trade here. And it does open up some really big opportunities. So it looks like Nifty the Shadow Hunter is just going to go for it with what remains of the Pillagers of Himring. Just going to charge right into these Spearmen. It's not the worst thing to do against hybrids before they have their secondary up. And he is going to deal a decent amount of damage there. Pull the infantry out as well. A little 1-2 punch, and Alexios is going to have no choice here but to draw those Spearmen back away from danger. And now, look at this, opening up all kinds of options. Alexios is now forced to move forward here, whereas probably he didn't want to do that. He has a lot of archers, a lot of ways to really make Ulfang pay, and some help here from Tundra's Fox on the way. The cavalry has arrived, and what a cavalry it is. Salamandrine Guard chasing off what remains of the Huntsmen of Lothland. That light cavalry getting absolutely skewered. And they're actually going to rescue the Shield Bearers of the tower here. What little remains of them, however, maybe about 20 or so % of that unit still around. And the Tribesmen of Lothland are going to rout, but that was excellent. Excellent play there. You really can't ask for better engagements as that when you're playing as Ulfang. So now getting a little bit more aggressive here. Another unit of the Shield Bearers of the tower being brought forward, and they're going to be backed up with some extra medium infantry. Nifrdir is going to respond in kind, and he's going to bear down upon this relatively small contingent from the Hidden City with basically everything he's got. We've got Ulfsarks, we've got tons of light infantry coming his way. We're going to pop back on over to the other side of the battlefield and see what is to be seen. Looks like Doriath is sending a little bit of help over here as well. Again, kind of expected that. The Great Wall of BOR, there's not too much you can do. Crashing head on into that, perhaps in retrospect, Alexios needed to hide behind the Great Wall of BOR and try to make their opponents come to them. But where's the fun in that, really? So, got to respect the aggression for sure. More Doriath units being brought forward. Looks like maybe 4 to 5 units. So, Gauntlet definitely going to be on the back foot here. And these other side of the army just kind of staring each other down. So we'll see how Tundra's Fox is going to respond. But we're going to pop back on over this way. And these 2 units of cavalry still in hiding. So Alexios doesn't know that they're there just yet. But I've got a feeling he's going to get a very rude awakening. Wolf starts moving forward a little bit exposed. And they are going to take a decent amount of damage on the way in. But I think they're going to be able to make it into the Shield Bearers of the tower. But Alexios doesn't want none of that smoke, and he's going to get the hell out of there. Can't really blame him for it, but unfortunately, it happened at a very inopportune moment. And the Shield Bearers of the tower and the Guardsmen of the Harp are actually going to get raked over the coals there a little bit by some axe throwers, that being the Marauders of Himring back there. 2 units of these Ulfsarks charging forward. They are taking quite the beating here. The Spearmen of the Swallow absolutely love to shoot these guys all day, every day. And the Marksmen of the Heavenly Arch in here as well. Now, I don't think Nifrdir really wants him to get away. He's kind of got him right where he wants him, doesn't he? So we've got some more cavalry coming out here, some more of that light harassment cav, really just picking apart the Noldor, and maybe looking like they want a piece here. So of course they absolutely do. They would win that fight all day, every day. But out comes the Despoilers of Dor Caranthir, and the trees are speaking Ulfang, and this is going to be a very bad day for Alexios. You can see a little bit of a morale debuff here. This is the kind of thing you can expect when units emerge suddenly from cover. The Despoilers as well have a little bit of fear, and that's going to be really tough for the Guardsmen of the Harp here to kind of hold the line. Now, not going to do quite as much. It wasn't as much of a clean charge as what we saw earlier with the Tribesmen. Alexios has no fear, and he's just going to move forward, try and zone out some of these cavalry, and maybe give the Guardsmen of the Harp an opportunity to really do a number on the Spoilers of Dork around here. The Guardsmen of the Harp do enough damage, and the Spoilers don't really have the greatest defensive stats, so they could trade relatively evenly, even with that nice charge that he got off there. Spirit of the Swallow getting absolutely eviscerated by the Ulfsarks. Alexei is going to take the opportunity here to kind of sacrifice this unit and move backwards with some more of his marksmen, looking to target down the Ulfsarks here, who have now gone berserk. So Nifredir has lost complete control of them. And more troops coming out of the trees here in support. Guardsmen of the Harp smashing up some of these marauders. They may be a little bit indecisive here, trying to get in. They kind of seemed like they were in loose formation, which can wreak havoc on your unit cohesion for sure, but they are going to be backed up by some Guardsmen of the Harp, and of course the fearsome phalanx of the King. And there's yet more to come. Still 2 units Champions of the Fountain. These 3 units alone have a very good chance to basically kill the entire Ulfang infantry roster, aside from the Ulfsarks, under ideal conditions. Meanwhile, though, it looks like a bit of a breakthrough here. More Spearmen of the Swallow being brought forward to kind of staunch the bleeding if possible. I'm guessing that they're out of ammunition, and it looks like some cavalry charging their way in. Raiders of Dork-Ranthi are kind of leading the way here against the Spearmen of the Swallow, and a lot of that light cav is just going to crash in to these medium Spearmen, and let's see how they do. The charge is going to hurt for sure. Oof, yeah, and all that cavalry, especially the Raiders, I think they cause fear. I could be wrong about that. And now it's going to start to even out a little bit. They're just going to mass push their way through there. Probably take reasonably high casualties, but Nifredir just wants to get through, wants to get into that back line and start munching on some of these more valuable units here, like perhaps the Marksmen of the Heavenly Arch, who are being borne down upon by some Raiders of Dork-Ranthi. Now, Gems of the Fountain moving forward. Great time to use them, hopefully to maybe catch some of these cavalry units off guard if they can. Try to avoid a charge headlong into his Champions of the Fountain, especially from the Pillagers. They could actually do a decent amount of damage. Beautifully clean charge here. Let's see if he actually gets it off. He might. Oh, and that is gonna hurt. I think you might just see this Pillager unit just evaporate under pressure from the House of the Fountain. Looks like they're taking damage from somebody there. Oh yeah, now these light cavalry just going to get absolutely eviscerated, and down they go. That's going to push Ulfang back, at least for the time being. Spoilers of Dork-Ranthi have now broken cover, and it looks like the other Raider unit over here has broken cover as well, and they're going to be enough to rout off some Guardsmen of the Harp. So this is just beautiful play from Ulfang. All the deception, all the skirmishing, and all of that mobility to punish enemy mistakes. Really well done. I don't think you can play it better than Nifredir is playing it right now. And it looks like some hidden reinforcements have popped up here. Scouts of the Tree. I think maybe one unit is getting eviscerated, or that's just part of one getting cut down by members of that Marauder of Himring unit. Looks like maybe BOR is going to come over and try to help his ally as well. Got a nice little phalanx here, and they're moving forward to, oh yeah, some Doriath troops. And this is shaping up to be a bit of a nasty general engagement. You got some Guardsmen of the Harp here, 100 or so of them. I got a feeling we're going to see these guys come back for sure. Squid's going toe-to-toe with the light infantry of Ulfang. Given enough time, they will actually skewer their way through several hundred of these naked barbarians for sure. But let's pop on over to the other side and see what's happening with Doriath and BOR. Things aren't looking amazing for Doriath. Looks like BOR is starting to take this position here. Tyr and Lyston are going to do reasonably well against the Clan Guard. Halberdiers, looks like they're crushing their way through a detachment unit. Are being peppered down by some of the Wardens of the Girdle, but they do have enough armor that they should be okay, but it might be that poison that undoes them here. Let's see if it's going to drop them down, and indeed it will drop them down to wavering. Let's see if they break and run. Over here, looks like BOR is doing pretty well. They seem to have things nicely in hand. A beautiful little sandwich here. These poor sword hosts. Getting charged in the rear by the Salamandrine Guard. Nobody's going to enjoy that, especially now with the armor piercing. Supporting units here, Hunters of Thargelion really peppering down some of the Donathan Mablung. Donathan Mablung have good enough armor that they'll probably be okay. But over time, they will certainly start to take a toll. Warband of Thargelion being thrown under the bus, sacked a little bit here to make sure the Donathan Mablung stay where Panthan wants them. Halberdiers pushing forward through the forest. Want to be a little bit careful here. This is where some of the terrain bonuses can kind of come into play. So being Sylvan Elves, the heavy infantry up Doriath don't actually take penalties in the woods. In fact, they get a minor bonus, where most heavy units, especially pole arms, are going to take 3, 4, sometimes even more of a penalty when fighting in the forest. So I want to be a little bit careful about getting into this tile here. But so far, seems that the Panthan has managed to stay out of it. Sword Host and just a unit here of Sword Host, not really having the greatest time. Some of the Axemen being brought forward. It's a really good tactic. You see it all the time from Captain Gervais. Likes to catch people on units and spread things out a little bit, and then punish them with some of that mid-range and longer range bow units as well. So Axemen of the Girdle charging headlong, and some of these BOR units have wandered into the forest, and that is going to make these Axemen of the Girdle even more effective than they otherwise would have been. So it's kind of hanging in the balance. I'd say it's definitely BOR favored over on this side. That being said, Captain Gervais is sort of playing with, one hand tied behind his back, but again, so is Panthan. He's brought some troops over here to try and stabilize his ally, but it looks like things are going very badly for poor old Gondolin here. A lot of that light cavalry getting in amongst the scouts of the tree. Again, Alexios definitely has a comp here that can beat this army, but Nifridir sort of suckered him in a little bit, and he's really punishing with all that mobility and those devastating charge values as well. Yeah, those light cavalry and the despoilers probably going to be enough to clean up the remaining sort of dregs of the Fountains of the Tree here. Or the Fountains of the Tree. The Scouts of the Tree. Sons of Wolfang have now been brought forward, and they're just going to smash their way through the Retainers of the King, along with some support there from the Raiders of Dork-Aranthir. Gondolin is just spread way too thin, unfortunately, and some of those early losses have really turned this battle against them. That being said, Panthan is here, and he might... Oh, sorry. I keep calling him Panthan. It's actually Tundra's Fox. Tundra's Fox is here, and... yeah, he's going to save the day, it seems. Some of these foragers now being kind of caught out, forced to fight toe-to-toe with some of the best that the BOR heavy infantry, and actually the mod, really, in terms of heavy infantry, have to offer. They're not really appreciating that opportunity all that much, and so it looks like they might just hightail it out of here and try to live another day. Some Marauders as well, already routing. Nifridir's going to pour more troops in here. Some of the Sons of Ulfang charging their way in, along with the remains of the Despoilers, but with the Ulfsarks, they'd certainly have a chance. Otherwise, I would say that they were completely outmatched here. But with the Ulfsarks, they managed to get them in there. There's a very, very good chance that they'll at least bleed the red team here. Although they are kind of starting to bring it back. Really, really nice stand here. Tundra's Fox is getting in there, stabilizing the situation. I feel so bad for calling him Panthan. I'm sorry, please forgive me. I'm going to get a lot of shit for that later. But yeah, Tundra's Fox coming in here, being a real team player, and starting to stabilize things a little bit. So maybe some of the Gondolin army will be able to be saved here. I don't see any Doriath troops. Oh dear, the Ulfsarks are in here, and that's going to be a big deal. We'll see. We'll see how they can deal with them. They are going to be able to kind of overlap a little bit, but that doesn't matter too much to the Ulfsarks here. In fact, that kind of plays into their hands a little bit. 28 Ulfsarks still ain't no joke, but I'm sure we'll start to see them fall away relatively quickly. Yeah, there they go, down to 27. So let's pop back on over to the other side and see how things are going. Looks like Doriath starting to bring it back a little bit here, which is kind of surprising. I would expect the Halberdiers to be able to smash their way through a unit of Sword Host, but it does take a little bit of time. It could just be that Elven skill coming out here to haunt poor Tundra's Fox. Definitely not Panthan. Shield Bearers doing what they do best, just clogging up the arteries, making things take forever to kill them. It's really their big strike. Meanwhile, the light infantry running around, causing all kinds of havoc. It's really just degenerated into small pockets here. It looked like BOR was winning when it was more of like a cohesive fight. If we take a look over here, Looks like they were doing... It's hard to tell. But when it comes to being more of a grind, I think BOR certainly has the advantage. But now that it's just degenerated into complete chaos and bedlam all across the field, Rex is able to isolate little pockets of the House of BOR heavy infantry, and things are going to turn around very, very quickly, I think. It looks like even some of the Ulfang cavalry has made their way over here to be a complete nuisance. They're going to crash headlong into the Clan Guard of Thargelion. They're not going to thank them for that at all. It's not going to do too much damage. They're a little bit of an anemic charge, but it really does just hem them in on yet another side. Now this heavy infantry, with that high skill, they're actually not doing too bad against the light infantry. Light infantry having some trouble, I think, penetrating the mighty armor, shield, and melee defense values of the Clan Guard. This is why they're good in a grind. Look at them go, surrounded on three sides, still holding their own. Meanwhile, the same cannot be said for the warband of Thargelion, being just hammered here on basically all sides. A complete encirclement. So we got Sword Host, we've got Rangers of the Girdle, and the feared and venerated Donath and Malong. So I don't think these guys will be too long for this world. You can see them just bleeding out very, very rapidly. And once they fall, I think they're going to be able to bring the rest of their troops to bear here against the Clan Guard. And things are starting to now turn against them as well. Some Outriders of the Girdle. Didn't see too much from them, but I assume they've been a complete and utter nuisance. One of the sort of hidden Lancer cavalry units. Looks like maybe they're... Oh no, they're dragging down the Amberone Honor Guard, which means the general for BOR is right there. And he's going to sell his life dearly, slashing one of those elves in twain. But I don't think he's going to be too much longer for this world. It looks like actually he's going to leave it to the cavalry and perhaps some of the dregs of the axemen there. Oh, he's not going down easy, eh? Taking down yet another of those elven light infantry. Looks like maybe Tundrus is going to try and sneak him out of there. Look at that, eh? He manages it. And off they go, Amberone Honor Guard. The only one left is the general, trying to flee back to the relative safety of those other units. But unfortunately, he will get caught up. He had a nice little head start there, a little bit of a miss micro. And I think that's going to be it. Down he goes. Thus ends the tale of the BOR general, who bravely led his men out here to face the might of Doriath. And things have really turned around. Now, look, 94 to 75. I'm willing to wager that things are not going quite so well over here any longer. And it looks like what's left of the Gondolin troops have routed. Most of the Easterlings, I think, are gone as well. And this is looking like a pretty crushing defeat, but really, look at this carpet of bodies here. Ulfang really threw everything they had at the combined might of Gondolin and a little bit of help from BOR, and they more or less destroyed each other, but somehow they came out on top. Really got to hand it to the Ulfang player here. I don't think you can really play Ulfang better than what they did there. They stood up to a much stronger, like conventionally force, and they managed to come out on top there. Sons of Ulfang getting 283 kills. I'm pretty sure they were basically dead down to the last man. Maybe there's a few of them left over. Raiders did really well. Look at all that cavalry, though. Now, it's relatively cheap cavalry, so selling their lives quite dearly relative to the cost of the Noldor they were fighting. Foragers, Marauders. Yeah, really, really nicely done. So I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I hope you'll join me for the siege battle coming out. Again, that is going to be a 4v4 reenacting the first kinslaying at Alcolonde. It's got a custom map that was made by one of the guys on the Discord. I think it was possibly Captain Gervais. And it's a hell of a game. It's super chaotic, and I think you guys are going to enjoy it. So, yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you'll join me next time.